60 Minutes recently aired two sister segments on the real estate situation in China. The first featured Zhang Jin, a female self-made billionaire in China who's dominated the commercial real estate business in the major cities in the last few years. The second segment featured the residential building boom that's been going on all across China and has resulted in ghost cities pretty much sprouting out, where huge residential towers are built and finished and the roadways are finished, but no one is actually living in the cities. Through the interviews they aired in these two segments, they pretty much painted two pretty clear pictures. One, that China is imminently going to move to democracy.
I know there's a lot of negativities in the US about the political system, but don't forget, 8,000 miles away, people in China are looking at it, longing for it.
Do you think there will be democracy here? Let's say I'm going to put a time frame on it. In 20 years?
Sooner.
And two, that a burst of this bubble in residential real estate is imminent.
Is there a bubble?
Yes, of course.
There is a bubble,
Yes.
and the issue is, will it burst or not?
Yes,
That's the big
yes.
issue.
If that bubble, that disaster,
If it burst.
it burst, that disaster.
And from my outsider's perspective, looking at not just these segments, but the other things that I know about China, it does seem that both of these things are imminent. For one thing, you can't have a situation where China's middle class is investing all of their money in residential real estate, on apartments and condos, because that's the only thing the government allows them to invest in. And so you have a situation where people are owning 5, 6, 7 apartments, but no one is living in a lot of those apartments, thus the creation of these ghost cities. The people who are going to be migrating from the rural countryside areas of China into these urban areas are simply not going to be able to afford the really expensive prices that people are expecting to rent out their apartments. So that's a ticking time bomb that the Chinese government even acknowledges and is trying to solve. And one of the ways they're trying to solve this problem is they're putting in rules such as people can't own more than one apartment. But that's tough to enforce, and it allows for people to move their money to a different city and buy apartments in different places that the government can't really regulate and monitor. And second, you cannot keep the most populous country in the world oppressed as the Chinese government has been and expect that to continue in a modern world where we're seeing technology breaking down all kinds of barriers and allowing for uprisings and revolutions like what we saw just in the past couple years with the Arab Spring. So to me, it's simply not a matter of if, but when China is going to have its democratic awakening. The question, it seems to me, that was outlined in the 60 Minutes piece is the housing bubble burst going to be the catalyst for that Chinese spring? And whatever the cause, when that democratic awakening happens, when the people of China cast aside their top-down, centralized communist government and have true democracy, there's a huge risk that China will go the way of the Soviet Union and break apart. You always hear analysts and people talking about the 21st century being China's century. Well, not if the united China we know now no longer exists.